achieveradio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/achieveradio.
This is Anne-Marie, and you are listening to Achieve Spiritual, Holistic, and Self-Improvement Radio. Hi there, Joseph. How are you today?
Hi, Anne-Marie. I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Sweltering hot here in the Midwest. Yes. My goodness. The dog can only handle a little bit in the morning time, and then I take him for a quick ride around about the mile, and then we come back, and the St. Bernard is almost sick. He's so hot, but we have air conditioning, but it doesn't affect him that much.
Well, I did hear that dogs' body temperatures are about 10 degrees higher than ours, and plus they do have all that hair, all that fur. We keep the dog inside most of the day. On days like this, he only goes out to do his business.
I'm going to have to let you take over. I locked my husband out. So you're going to Bill, I locked my husband out, so you're going to have to give Joseph full screen.
Well, okay. Well, while Anne-Marie's answering the front door, the show is about deathbed visions and children born with CAUL. That's C-A-U-L. And from what I understand about CAUL, the scientific and medical, is that it is a membrane that the child is born with. And it's easily removed, and it's usually a thin membrane that is taken off. There is a spiritual significance to some people about children who are born with a call. They may believe that the child will always be protected in life, and if you are a sailor, calls are seen as something that would protect you from drowning in life. So I thought that was very interesting. So that's one of the things we're going to be talking about. And deathbed visions, I've never been present with a person who died as they were dying. I have never witnessed a death, really, in my whole life. I've never been at anyone's side at that time. Actually, it seems in my family, people wait until nobody's looking. They wait until they're alone, and then all of a sudden you find out that they're gone. That's basically it. Except for the dog we had last year, that was the only time I was present when there was a death.
Yes, I was there when my father died, and
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was definitely deathbed visions, but you want to have the deathbed visions that are not drug-induced, because morphine can be a lot like acid. Those are not the kind of deathbed visions that we are talking about. The deathbed visions that we are talking about are more like when someone dies a peaceful, long death, and their eyes kind of cast up in the sky as if they're gazing at something, and it's as if they see something physically there. And it happens, I think, not so well. We don't know what happens in a sudden death like a car accident, but I think there's somebody there in our last moments to be there for us. But for the person who is blessed to have a long, pleasant death or a long, pleasant time to die, an extended illness even, they may have a conversation with someone that you can't see, or they may tell you about somebody that they have spoken to. And for them, and I believe this is the same for children as well as senior citizens, I believe the veil gets very thin. Everybody tells children that what they are seeing is not really there. And I believe that a lot of older citizens, senior citizens, are on that same, one is entering fresh and one is leaving. And I believe that that is just as real for people moving on in their last stages. I know it is for children. When they are freshly here, they do see things. I was one of them. I know I saw things. And I'm sure you did too.
Well, I did see things when I was a child, yeah, and they were always dismissed. Actually, what I would have are dreams, and what I would have are experiences upon awakening and as I'm sleeping, or just before sleep. And I've always slept in an odd way that I would start to dream before I slept. I would hit the REM sleep right away while still being semi-conscious, and I still do that. Now, as for the deathbed visions, now, my mother had died when she died for, a few seconds when she had a massive heart attack back in the 1990s. And she said that she was aware of it happening because she felt herself moving further away, and she heard the doctors all calling her back. But she didn't see anything, and she didn't have anything spiritual happen to her. But she did say that afterwards, when she was in intensive care, she was aware of somebody sitting on the bed beside her. And medical personnel does not do that, usually. Not that I know of. And she said the person was with her for a while and then said to her, "Well, I guess you don't need me now," and got up and left. And she was convinced it was her mother. She was sure of that. And but that's the only time that I know somebody who did speak of that. And of course, then we had to put the dog down last year. We didn't have, she wasn't having visions that I know of, other than that she was in a lot of pain, and that was a very heartbreaking moment. But I did read somewhere, I don't know if it's Tibet, I think it was Tibet philosophy, where if you're dying, the monks are all around you, and the moment you die, they ring a bell, they ring you a bell, they ring bells next to your ears or something, and they say, "You're dead. Look for the furthest light. Go to there's supposedly two lights, and the one that's closest is they don't want you to do that. They want you to go further to the light that's the most distant."
Interesting.
So
what is the first light?
I don't know why that would be. There's a whole, the first light just might be very earthly. It might be something
that's what I'm thinking of, because we talked about that. The first light would be the cerebral.
Right.
You've talked about the tunnel vision that may be actually scientific.
Well, it might be because,
But the second light may be the one that is actually the spiritual. Yeah.
That's the
I
one
like
you should
that.
be aiming for.
Yes.
So I had told Abby, the dog, this months beforehand, and I would remind her. I would, even if I didn't know if she understood this or not, but I would just simply, I would just simply tell her, when that time comes, you'll know what I mean, and go to the furthest one. And all you have to do is think about it.
I like
just
that.
go aim for that furthest one.
That is
And
such a cool thought.
so,
Yes.
yeah, I
Because
don't know. Scientifically, they say, well, when your brain shuts down, that's the process it goes through. You have that TV light, that
first
TV
light,
dot going on. Yeah, firstly, that's the first light. I guess the first one that you're going to see. Beyond that, nobody really could say for sure. We don't know. People do tell us our experiences, and I can't make a judgment. I can't say it's not so, because once what's happening to us, it is a personal journey, and we're not usually able to come back right away and say, hey,
well, some people do.
Could,
some people come.
Takes right. But, the trouble is we don't really have any hard evidence with that.
No,
but that is a spiritual matter, so we couldn't possibly have evidence of it. So I would say I just have to believe what people say. What happens, if I ever meet somebody who says I had an experience like this because I did die on the table or something, I can't dispute it. And of course, then there's the other things that we can't explain, which actually I think is very hopeful. People who leave their bodies at that time are aware of and very accurately describe what's happening in the waiting room and who's there.
Yes.
People showing up that they had no idea that they would be there, and they would say, yes, I was aware that Uncle Bob was in the room waiting, and they said you didn't know that Uncle Bob was there, but he was.
Yes.
So especially that there's a famous case of the little girl that died, and it was made into a movie. They had a boy playing the part. It was about a little boy in the movie. But that's the case where the child drew a picture of the man that she saw to be Jesus when she went into the afterlife temporarily. It's a famous portrait that she had painted now. You could find it on the internet, the portrait of Jesus. And the portrait looks to me, it resembles Kenny Loggins, actually. And, so I had my doubts when I saw the feathered hair and stuff. I thought, wow, it's Kenny Loggins. But I still can't say that's not what she saw. You see,
Absolutely.
You're going to see what you see. And in the spirit world, I suppose, we don't know what kind of substance there is there in that other dimension.
Right. So I wanted to kind of go, this article is from Om Magazine, and those that would like to research it, please do. It is, again, this episode, I'm looking for the author, I don't see it, by John Holland. John Holland. Isn't that a famous psychic? No.
The name sounds familiar, but it's a very catchy name. I think I've heard variations of it, yeah. It's hard to say.
Anyway, the phenomena of deathbed visions is called DBV, which some people experience just before they pass on. They are more common with a natural death or prolonged terminal illness. Even this author's mom and dad had deathbed visions towards the end of their life. And one day his mom was sitting up in her hospital bed, quite coherent, and said, "Johnny, guess who came to see me today for a visit?" And the author started reeling off name after name of different people in her life that he could think of, and all she kept saying was, nope, nope, and nope. And finally she blurted out, Wayne came to visit. Wayne was her first love, who'd passed 25 years before her, and asked her quietly, sitting down on the bed, and held her hand and told her that she'd see him sitting at the end of the bed in his sailor uniform, handsome and young as she remembered him. And he told her that he was checking in on her to see how she was. Examples of deathbed
And he
visions
came
have
to her
been,
in the image that she would recognize.
yeah, yeah. Examples of
Yes, I
deathbed
thought
visions.
that's interesting.
Examples of deathbed visions have been recognized and embraced by all different cultures and faiths around the world, as well as thoroughly written about in both nonfiction and fiction. And in 1926, the physician William Barré wrote the book of Deathbed Visions, in which he detailed stories of people who'd experienced visions of deceased friends and relatives, and so has Bob Olson from Best Psychics Directory. He is a big author on deathbed visions, and he has a psychic site, which I'm with, but also he's written several books on, or at least one that's very famous on deathbed visions and passing on. And these things are really, really interesting. So John's lesson for this is, if you know someone who is close to passing and they start to talk about someone visiting, the best advice that he can give you is to ask them questions about the visit. Then listen with an open mind. You might be quite surprised by who shows up. Hopefully, as the phenomena of deathbed visions becomes more widely written about and accepted, it will assist in the recognizing that death is nothing to be afraid of. And that's where that is.
Well, you know,
So
I do have a story
okay, wonderful.
of that. It's very short.
Story,
It's not mine.
story.
It is my sister-in-law's story, and it's about her mother who was taking care of the grandmother,
Okay.
who was very old, and they had expected her to die actually years before, but the grandmother told my sister-in-law, I'm going to stick around to see your first child at least.
Oh, wow.
And she did live to see the second child even. And so the mother was staying with her to watch her, and because she was starting to seem like she was going to go. So she was staying with her in her house, and it was easier for them to share the large bed. You know, so she was right there in case she needed her during the night. So my sister-in-law's mother woke up in the middle of the night, and she was facing the other way, away from the grandmother in bed. She woke up to a very strong light in the room, very bright, and she heard someone say, "Oh, don't look, go back to sleep." So she did. She was half asleep anyway, so she thought, okay. And in the morning, the grandmother had been gone. She had passed away during the night.
That's cool.
That is the closest experience that I know of, and that is somebody that I do know. And these are all people involved are people that I have met and know. You know, I have met the grandmother. I know my sister-in-law's mother, who is still with us. And I thought it was a remarkable thing, and I don't question that at all. I believe it. I think that's what she did see, because I did have some weird electrical things happening just before my father passed away, and I had those weird electrical things ever since. For that whole 6 months afterwards, there was this odd electrical thing happening around me. Especially things involving me and the family house that all of us were working on to sell at that time. I had trouble leaving messages on the answering machine. It just wouldn't pick up. And actually, the machine wouldn't work in my presence. It wouldn't pick up. On the last night, I had dinner with my parents before he passed away, several hours later. We were having dinner, the phone rang, and he was about to answer. I said, Dad, you got a machine. That's why we got one for you. Let it pick up. You'll get to it. And it just wouldn't pick up. So he answered it. It was my sister. And afterwards, when I had gone home, we talked about the machine possibly needing replacement. He had passed away during the night. But actually, the phone seemed to work fine for everybody else.
Oh, wow.
Even when I was at work, needing to leave a message, I couldn't. And I would try to trick it. I would have my coworker call my house, call my parents' house, and she said it picked up fine. So we would wait a few minutes, and then I would try it on her phone. It would not pick up. I would try it on my cell phone. It wouldn't pick up. I would try it on my own extension, my own landline, and then finally at my mother's funeral, after my mother's funeral, me and my siblings were at the house. My sister and my brother were with me, and I explained to them what was going on, and I was sitting right there with my cell phone, with the phone right there, calling it, and it would ring and ring and ring, and it wouldn't pick up. So then they would try it, and it would pick up. So I said, let me have your phone. And I called it, and it picked up. But when I tried it again, it wouldn't.
With their phone.
So we just assumed we managed to trick it just for a moment, But one of the things I noticed afterwards is that whenever I had a detailed dream involving my parents who had passed on, they always seemed to be accompanied by someone I never remembered who it was when I woke up. In the dream, I would think, oh, yes, and there's so-and-so, but then afterwards, it's like they were erased, and I just didn't know what or who that they were always with. And so I also try to practice lucid dreaming when I think about it, and I really was determined to find out who this person was. And so I had this dream that I was sitting at a table eating with my father and mother, and this person was sitting there, and then I suddenly realized I am dreaming. I'm going to turn around and look right at this person, and I did. And all I could tell was that she was a young woman with dark hair. She was very young. I would say she was probably an older teenager. Okay. And she abruptly left. She was sort of like upset that I had done that, or like, oh no, and then she left. And I woke up immediately, and actually waking up immediately was what made me remember the nature of who she was. She was a young lady with dark hair, but I didn't recognize her. I couldn't draw her face. I could not do, but I do know what she was in the dream. And actually, I never saw her again. But because I don't usually dream of my folks, hardly ever. Usually, they're in the background of many dreams. But at that time, they were the forefront. And that was the person I wanted to try to see. So it must have been either a guide of theirs or an angel moderator that always accompanied them whenever they were in dreams.
Yeah, like
and
a guardian.
I was not supposed to see what this was, but she was like, oh, no. And it just all of a sudden I woke up. It's
like you tricked her.
Not supposed to. I tricked her. Yes, I did, because I just bothered me that there was always this other presence that I never knew, But now I have an idea. It is whoever it was. It was a very young lady. All I could say was that she was very nice looking. She was very, very beautiful, but actually not easy to identify.
Maybe she's somebody from your own genetic code.
She might have been.
and
might
she
have
might
been
be someone
maybe
you
an
see
aunt.
again. Yeah.
Yeah, she
You
might have
know,
been an
which
aunt that I don't recognize, or a cousin of my mother's or father's or somebody, you know.
which brings us to the next subject matter, which is what are the ways your loved ones may be sending you signs from beyond? And it says we all receive signs and symbols from our loved ones on a regular basis, and they come in many ways. It's purely a matter of opening the door and listening to those messages when they arrive and then saying, thank you. Now, I have a theory about that, and we've spoken on that. Whether it's the fact that we leave a message for our loved ones on our last dying moments, I've always thought it rather rude to bring back people from the dead when they're
Oh yeah, I wouldn't do it.
to talk to us. But here are some of the ways that your loved ones may be talking to you. Electricity.
Mhm.
One of the easiest ways spirit can come to talk to us through electricity. It acts as a conductor for them. When the lights flicker, computers, televisions, and phones randomly shut off and on, light bulbs burst, or even when fire alarms go off or on for no apparent reason, be sure to recognize the moment and ask yourself which of your loved ones might be trying to reach you. Telephones can be manipulated very easily by spirit as
Mhm.
well. Did you leave the phone number of a loved one on your cell after they passed? Did their phone number ring you and there was nothing on the other's end? That was quite possible. Feeling your loved one. Often you may feel the presence of the loved one. Do you get a warm feeling when you have a thought of your loved one? Do you get the chills or feel a light touch on your shoulder to turn around and find no one there? I like to refer to these touches from spirit as butterfly kisses. You can find assurance that this offering of touch is one of their ways of saying hello. Smell. This is a big one I always got. Perfumes
Oh
and
yes,
those that have, or aftershaves.
yes,
This is one of the
yes.
most
I have
powerful
experienced it.
ways spirit can communicate with us. Do you smell your great aunt's cologne or your grandfather's pipe? Do you smell these powerful scents at the most unlikely times or places? There is a reason for this. Your loved one is trying to get your attention. This is particularly the case when the smell presents at the seemingly oddest time. My friend and I were riding our bikes one day recently when she was surprised to smell her father scent on a bike trail in the wide open outdoors. Her father had passed only 2 years prior, and interestingly, my friend had just minutes before rolled through a stop sign thinking that would be okay instead of stopping fully. Well,
Oh, dear.
Dad showed up moments later to tell her it was not okay. So also thinking of them, recalling a time when out of the blue you begin thinking of your loved one at a particular moment in your day, or coincidence and synchronistic moments. I love those. Those are times like when we're presented with what we might be called uniquely synchronistic events, being aware that you'll miss the message. Coincidence is non-existent. There is simply no such thing. Have you ever been thinking of your loved one and reminded of their very special favorite song, and boom, there's the song on the radio.
Mhm.
Indeed, this was your loved one, and these visits are special gifts through and through. So, those are just some of the ways. Also, numbers. It says, do you see
There is
numbers
something
repeat
to that.
themselves? Do clocks stop? Yes, at a certain time. Do
Oh yeah.
license plate numbers have a particularly important sequence? Do you see your loved one's
Mhm.
birthday routinely showing up? These are all ways that your loved ones may be communicating to you.
Well, with my father, it's burnt toast.
Oh, I
And
remember you saying
basically,
that.
basically, it seems like it would happen. Well, it would happen in weird places. It would happen at work, and I would find out somebody had just burnt toast in the break room. But it would be like it would happen on his birthday or something odd like that.
How cool is
Or it's
that?
like if you're going to burn toast on any other day, it's just weird that you would burn it on that day, and because very seldom anybody used the toaster in that room. So with my mother, I did feel a hand very lightly touch my head the day before her funeral. When I was thinking about her in bed, I did feel a hand upon my head. And then after I felt that, I remembered her telling me about that when I was a kid, that very often if there is somebody who's missed and someone who's just passed on, if you feel that sensation of somebody touching your head, that is their attempt to try to make you feel better. And it wasn't just like, I think it feels like somebody's touching my head. It was definitely, I actually had a check. Because I really did feel somebody very lightly do this. And plus I was sitting any place where anyone could do that. I was sitting in a chair against the wall, so there's no way. The other thing was coming back from her funeral to my empty apartment where there was nobody there. And my cousin and I were getting ready earlier that morning, but the aroma I smelled when I came home was Chanel. And that was a very distinctive difference in what we were wearing. And that is an aroma that my mother always used. And when we were opening her drawers to look at her possessions and her dresser drawer, the first drawer always smelled like Chanel.
Chanel.
And my brother said, oh, mom's smell, because that was her preferred perfume, was Chanel. And I thought it was odd that I would come home to an apartment where nobody had been. No females had been there recently. And I would smell Chanel right there. And I thought that was her. And I won't dispute that. When somebody tells me that, I'd say, yeah, I believe that, because it's happened to me. And I don't have an explanation for it other than it must have been them, because I would go through my head. It's like nobody would, even somebody walking by the apartment wearing Chanel would not have brought Chanel into my living.
No. Joseph,
just,
we have a lot of people waiting for readings. Shall we get started on them?
Do. That's great.
Okay.
Sure.
A lot of them are in quick. I do want to remind everybody that we do love reading for actual voices, and if you want to call in, you go to 602-666-6027, and you can get a reading with us by phone. The nice thing about that is you can listen to it on the show afterwards, but then even the in-quicks you can listen to on the show. So I'm going to start out with Samantha. And Samantha's from Iowa. So hi, Samantha. How are you?
Hi, Samantha.
Pretty good.
What's going on?
Well, here's the thing. On one day, I sent, a chat, in May, asked you something about, I've been having issues for a year trying to get pregnant. And within the last couple of seconds, you were kind of vague in it. You dropped, the last sentence I heard was, just be careful the first 3 months. So I just wanted to call and get more of an in-depth reading on that.
Okay. Please understand that I don't remember readings. I don't try to connect with old readings. So any reading that we have is fresh, Samantha. All right?
Okay.
And we do not give medical readings. So pregnancy is something that is a medical reading, but I can tell you what I see after Joseph does. Joseph, what do you see about Samantha?
Well, I do see that the card that I drew for the Three of Wands for your recent past does show that there is a goal or a project that seemed like, yes, it's going to happen, and I'm seeing that for some reason you thought maybe it looks like I'm going to do this, it looks like we're going to have a baby. I am also seeing that the present time there is something going on in your life that's creating some stress. And I'm not a physician, but I do know that stress and having, say perhaps legal matters hanging over you and all these things, if there's anything going on, a lot of times the timing's not right, and sometimes the body just isn't going to do that, depending on who you are. I do see, though, at what we drew for the near future is the Eight of Wands. So I do see that there is a possibility, but you need careful planning in this. Apparently the cards are saying that this isn't something that might not happen on its own very easily. Okay? I do see perhaps that if you see your doctor and you go through medical suggestions or, for like how is the best way to do this, I do see that there would be a good chance. Of course, I can't say for sure, because the birth of a person is not something that we could predict very easily. It will happen when it happens, but I do see that certain situations will come to resolution, and once certain situations do, then there is a better chance for this. And I do see possibly between 8 weeks and 8 months, you'll have this. You'll have a better news about this, or you'll have more clarification as for what's going on. Okay.
Joseph,
I am
because
seeing
we
at
have
the current
Joseph.
time, I'm seeing a lot of legal. Yeah, at the current time, I'm seeing some amount of stresses. I'm seeing too many stresses in the current day. But I'm saying, down the line, you might have better chances. Okay, and Marie, why don't you go ahead?
Okay, we have several people in quick, so we have to kind of keep it short, and we have 17 minutes. So the first thing I want to say is that I have the card of ambition for this month, but it's upside down, which indicates that it's a very, very, very important for you not to focus on having a child this month, because to do so only self-sabotages your potential to have one. The next month, it says, is the month of flow. Now, hopefully that does not mean menstrual cycle. We'll hope that flow means that what you want, the dream of a child, the riches that you want, are going to flow into your life. But there is the chance of a menstrual cycle. And in the next month, which would be September, it says, relax. The only way that you're going to have a child is if you choose to relax, not fill your mind with worry, as all that creates stress and only rains down chemicals of anxiety on your chances. There's a reason why people get adopted children, they adopt a child and then suddenly someone's pregnant, because as soon as they are not concentrating on having a child, suddenly they relax and the child is able to be born. So I'm going to say your reading definitely tells me that you can have a child, but you have got to stop dwelling on it. It is not going to happen, and if you're in a relationship, it's going to create pressure. So that's what I see, Samantha, okay?
All right, thank you.
You're
Yeah.
welcome. Okay, so we have Cindy, and she says, can I have a financial reading for the next 6 months? 6-month financial reading, Joseph. We have to keep them short
Okay.
because
Yes.
14 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Well, I'm seeing at the current time here we have the Two of Pentacles, and I do see that big changes and positive changes are in store for you. I do see balance, and I do see that you're getting anything from an important document that's very positive is going to come to you. And I do see that this news, these documents are going to be into some financial problems. Okay, that's what I'm seeing happening in the immediate future, possibly even now within a couple of days, or you might have just gotten some documents that are very good news. Okay, that looks very good. I do see that you, in the coming months, don't be so distracted, be focused. If you're going to go into business, I do see that you're being cautioned of a lack of insight. Okay, so research and have an open mind, and I think it should go well. Okay, Anne-Marie?
Cindy, this is your 6-month financial plan. At this month of July, it says, do not buy a bunch of internet shopping items. That will cause you to have to spend all your time saving money in August. September, it says, you will have 2 items, 2 large purchase items that you will have to spend on. Your reading says, be careful, take your time. This is in August, or July, September. In October, it shows, be cautious still. So we have July, August, September, and October to be cautious, and that your finances are actually going to start to improve with the coming of late autumn. So it seems to me that summer brings the internet shopping or some kind of wild woman ability to spend money. Be very careful about that until the end of summer. You may find that a vacation is easier for you to have and be able to not have to spend so much time making back the money if you wait until middle or late autumn. All right, that's what I have on that. So we have Sarah from Wyoming, and she says, hi, can you do a reading for my puppy Mimi? All is well, just curious about Mimi, my puppy. Okay.
Well, I do see that for now, Mimi has the Four of Swords, and apparently she has, it seems to me that this card tells me that she has recently had a difficult time or had a recent rough spot, but she's fine now, and that she is, I'm seeing a rest here, and this is peace and quiet, you know. So I do see that at the current time, she's not going to have any problems. And I do see that this is a card that is a resting card. You know, she's fine. I do see that she probably wasn't before, but she's good now. That's what I'm seeing. You know, she might have had a spot of ticks or something. I don't know. But whatever the issue was, she's doing okay. She's just at rest. She's at rest, and she's just fine. That's what I see.
Okay, I have the blessings and gifts of Mimi the puppy. The first blessing that Mimi has is that Mimi is very intelligent and receptive to learning tricks. The second blessing I see is that Mimi is very aware and very intelligent. The third thing that I see about Mimi is very jealous. Generosity is upside down, which is Mimi doesn't want to share you with anybody, and Mimi would much prefer if you were with her day and night. And the second thing to watch out for Mimi is that maybe Mimi may be one of those puppies that acts out, because this is the card of walking your talk, practicing what you speak, but it's upside down. So watch out that Mimi does not act out and get in the garbage or chew up your favorite shoes or whatever when she's upset with you, because it does seem that she's intelligent, very receptive to learning tricks, but also jealous and does not want to share you, and may need to have one of those storm coats or something for when you leave, because she definitely is going to be a pup that kind of gets into stuff when she's mad
I
at you.
do see her getting anxiety in the near future. So she doesn't like to be left alone. She may have separation anxiety. You can check on the internet and with experts to find out how to work through that, because I do see that in the near future she's going to have some stress. So like if you're planning a trip or something, or something different's going to happen, I do see that. But there's ways to work around it, you know, with training. Yeah.
Lena is from Tennessee and says she has a job interview today and looking to leave her past job called Book for this new one called Card. Can you see what the cards say about her new job, Card? Thank you.
Well, I see it. She has the Page of Cups in her present day and in the very near future, if it hasn't happened already. I do see a male, a youthful person giving her an invitation. It is somebody offering her a cup, and this is a good thing. And I would say that this is somebody who sympathizes with others and is a very good person. So if this is a supervisor or somebody that you're going to be worked with, I would say this is a very nice person who is giving you a nice invitation, definitely. And I do see that also down the road, there will be also another person, a Knight of Wands, full of energy and wands, meaning work. This is someone that you're going to be somebody wonderful to work with who has a way. He's a male. It's a strong male energy. And this is somebody who actually seems sexy to many people because of the way they are and the way they handle things. This, I see that the people that you'll be working with will be very helpful, or your associates, or whatever the job this is. I do see that these are great people that you're going to be surrounded with, and they will help you make this a success.
Cool. Lena, what I see is that you need to be very quiet about leaving your present job, because I have the card of the Tower, which indicates that once they know that you're leaving, don't be surprised if all of a sudden they start offering you something else that they feel would make you stay. In other words, you know, what's that saying? They never know what they've got until you leave. The actual thought of you leaving has them really stressed out. So you may want to keep it to yourself until the day you leave, or until, obviously, they're going to do a history search. I do feel that interesting that Joseph said something about romantic person, because I also have romance at your next job, which indicates that you will either have a very beautiful romantic environment, or you will be doing romantic things that may pertain to someone or just a job that you do. And again, it says, and I have the High Priestess keep this a secret about going to the new job until the very last minute. It does seem that if you blurt out that you're leaving, it's going to cause all kinds of crisis. And, you know, you don't want to be fired, or you don't want to be given a bad review, or you don't want to have people manipulate you to stay just because they're afraid of you going away. That's what I see. We have one more, and that's Russ. Should I take the potential new job where I work? It is the third shift job starting between 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. Little more money, but I would have to lose hours at my second job. Yes or no, should he take the potential new job?
Yes or no? Well, I would see that it will be overwhelming, and I do see that you might, at the current time, you're just simply not able to cope with day-to-day things. It's very stressful. So, but I do see this as something that it's something that you may, if you need this job, if you need this money, you don't really have much choice. I do see that. But if you are comfortable where you are, I do see that the stresses are going to work out. I do see that things will eventually, okay, it might be really brutal in the beginning, but I do see that this will eventually work out over time. It just takes a little bit of time. It takes a little bit of time to adapt. That's what I see. That is the Six of Swords.
I would.
The problems that you're having are all internal, all emotional, because what it is that, yeah, it's upsetting to lose those hours. It's upsetting to start something new, but I do see that it's going to work out if you persevere. I do see that. Okay, Anne-Marie, go on. I'm sorry.
I don't quite understand what you said yes or no, but I show no. Don't leave the job that you're having. There is a sense that, and I do believe, as Joseph, if he was saying that by staying, things are going to work out, I too see that. Because it shows you as the King of Swords, that you may be able to pursue aggressively something with more leadership. And it says, by staying with a new job, I show the Magician, which indicates that there may be new things about the old job that can wake up for you. So it says, don't get impatient. Don't jump the gun. You always have free will, Russ, and we can't tell you what to do, only what we see. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's what we have on that. And I am going to say, Joseph, if you would please tell us before the last 2 minutes, what does it mean when one is born with a cowl?
Okay, well, basically, physically, it means that there's a membrane over still covering the child. It's from the sac, the birth sac that you're born into. Sometimes part of it's on the face, and that's easily removed. Superstition-wise, it means that you might be able to see through the veil, to see. Spiritually, it could also mean that you will be well protected in life, and it's a good sign for sailors who were born with a caul, because that indicates that they will be safe from drowning. So that spiritually, that is what the caul means, and physically, that's what it actually is. It's a membrane that is very easily removed. Sometimes they have to do it very carefully, surgically, and that you can't just rip it off, because you could scar a child permanently if you do that. But usually it's a harmless thing, and it happens. It's very rare. It's like 1 in 80, like maybe 1 in 8,000 kids might be born with it.
I think in the ancient days, didn't they leave? Did they end up with the veil or the cowl on their face?
I don't know. I suppose if it came off easily, probably not. I think they used to save it. I think people do save that, and I don't think they've ever discarded it. Back in the old days, it was like seen as something to keep, definitely.
Well,
I
I'm not
don't
sure,
know if
but
they ever left it on.
it seems to me that I remember that in the ancient days, those that could not remove the cowl, the membrane easily, had this kind of membrane over their faces, which made them
Oh,
almost like the Sibyl, which made them, people see them as the ability to have vision past the veil, to be either good healers, to be people that have mystical powers, or to be people that can speak to the dead, or see spirits. But I think that they did not have the ability to do some of the surgeries we could. Well, we will see you next week. And goodbye, and have a
okay.
great week, right, Joseph?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yep.
Psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at